Hey, good morning, everybody. I got a little bit of my energy back. I was just on checking in with Twitter again. Let's see, what feed is this on? I'm checking. Okay, I'll kind of follow it. Here's what's been happening on Twitter this morning. Just normal stuff. But I had retweeted a Rank the Vote Ohio ranked choice voting that had to do with uh, let's see, which the bill would use for general elections. What was it? Ranked choice voting, which the bill would use for general elections, has grown in popularity in recent years. Um, Ohio lawmakers for follow suit or will pass a ballot initiative ourselves. That was the part that obviously caught my eye. And we kind of have a little thread going there. But here's the topic of the video. And I'll just lead out with something that Lisa threw down at 50 lines only on Twitter. She says, "Join the crew. We, all of us who know healthcare is a human right and that it's unacceptable to have insurance middlemen profiting from human misery. You can help us do this from anywhere. We need your voices and we need your support. Volunteer." And she links wholewashington.org. So thank you, Lisa. Yeah, yesterday and the day before, I was really very, very, very tired. Taking naps in the afternoon after work. Just, yeah, the weekend really caught up with me, and I wasn't even somebody who had to travel. But where am I at this morning? Well, it's very, very exciting and difficult to kind of to be patient for Kenny to be editing, and we want him to take his time and edit. Of course, we're just talking about little clips of possibly the rally, of different people's interviews. Who knows what all he's gonna um, uh, be able to release here within the next couple days, week, couple of weeks, because remember, he's got his other concurrent project that he's working on. So we're lucky to have him uh, jumping in and working on healthcare justice when he's working on the badge and Black America right now. So he has other things that he's needing to do. Um, yeah, but where had I started to go? It was because on that thread that I started to talk about a minute ago, and it's not really worth belaboring because there's always going to be people on social media and on Twitter that are either there purposefully to kind of divide or who just literally want to continue to follow old narratives. But what I want to grab onto from this, because this person blocked me almost straight away, um, because she said something about whole Washington being like, we need national improved Medicare for all, not, well, she didn't say national improved. She says we need Medicare for all, not some piecemeal legislation from state by state. And so, um, I, yeah, I said something about how that's an instant unfollow. Um, where did it go? But the interesting thing is you go, I want to find the tweet. Yeah, here it is, because I went immediately to her feed and she had at the very top retweeted um, Nancy Arsenault at Ravhun, Ravhun, which is, "As a Canadian, I know Medicare for all works. Why is it so hard for the US to implement a healthcare system that works? I had 2 kids, never saw a bill. I had 3 surgeries, never saw a bill. My mom had open heart surgery. She never saw a bill." That's a great tweet. It's a true tweet. So that this person that I'm talking about, who now blocked me, you know, when she said, we need Medicare for all, call your legislators. Um, not because we don't need some piecemeal legislation state by state. And so then I went immediately to her feed, found this retweet of as a Canadian, blah, 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 blah. So I copy it, take it straight to the feed where we're talking about this, and I put it down and say, let me get this straight. Your advocacy includes retweeting Canadians who are showing solidarity for Medicare for All because they passed their system over 50 years ago, beginning with Saskatchewan province, while simultaneously undermining state effort whole Washington. Boom, block. Sorry, we have precedent. So this is all that anybody needs to say. I am getting sick and tired. Like the single payer movement has been doing this for a very long time, um, and I know that there are now people who are now are strong allies with whole Washington, and I'm deeply appreciative for them because the thing is, we are allowed to change our minds. We are allowed to think one thing when there was still a really strong chance of passing it uh, federally, right? And then what people need to do is turn around and say, okay, that was for that moment in time. That's where I was. Um, because nobody is arguing that it would be better and more ideal to pass it nationally. Um, but now it's time to turn and face reality, which is really difficult for some people to do. They still have this pie in the sky thought that somehow, despite having veto Biden and a almost completely corrupted Congress on both sides of the aisle, that we have a chance of passing this at a national level right now. That's just not going to happen. And I'm really sorry to have to just be the one to tell you that you need to turn and face reality and get to work because that's the only way that we're going to do this. I don't know, for these people, if they think that we're just going to have another shot like we had Bernie Sanders 2 election cycles. That was our shot. That was our shot at this. Okay. Um, and then we can hope for what? Another savior? Is that going to be Nina Turner? And are enough people going to be activated at that point in time to have raised a groundswell of grassroots activists in order to get her elected? Because that's what this is going to take. I don't mean to be snide about this. This is just common sense. Like, we can't sit around and wait for there to be another golden opportunity, and wholewashington.org is not doing that. And there are other good state level efforts that are not doing that. So it's time for the rest of the movement, the people who are just going around retweeting Representative Pramila Jayapal and all of the progressive caucus say when they say we need Medicare for all. And yet, let me go ahead and do a shout out because magically, after we had such a good showing down at Representative Kilmer's office where Kenny Ballentine was filming last Friday, and we did have, for a Friday afternoon during COVID, a really amazing turnout. The steps were packed. I don't know how many people we had. I guess we could break, the photos of it down. Um, Not hundreds, but certainly a very, very strong showing of people with signage, and Scott Denoyer and Lisa, in addition to Kenny Ballentine traveling, people traveled from different places. We had local people from Tacoma here and also people that traveled um, from different parts of the state to be part of not only that event, but also to be interviewed for Kenny Ballentine's documentary for healthcare justice. So we had quite an amazing participation. Now, for the sake of it, just to play devil's advocate, because I already know the answer to this, and it's very frustrating because I don't want to just come across as some kind of a divisive person. And I really hate that word, by the way. The word divisive and toxic, those two words are weaponized really very much on the left by corporate Democrats, and it somehow has bled into the stronger elements of the progressive movement, to where it's now divisive to tell the truth, and it's toxic to be angry and to tell the truth. I am just simply not going to continue to put up with that and allow that uh, harmful rhetoric to go unchallenged. See, I'm saying harmful rhetoric, that when you label people that tell the truth and people who are demanding things of our elected representatives, and if we're out demanding things and challenging them when they have the power, and we're the ones when we're doing all of the actions, when we're the ones that are outside of Representative Kilmer's office. So, what I wanted to do, and I know there's no point in this, what's the point? Um, if I'm wrong, I'm just going to like come on here and do some kind of like, I'm not wrong. I haven't checked Rep Jayapal's feed. I don't need to. I know that there is no thank you tweet to Hull, Washington for us gathering outside of Kilmer's office with giant hand painted signs. These were ours. This was money out of pocket to buy the paint. This is people raising money to help make sure that Scott could fly in. Like this stuff all costs money. This was so that all of us could come create an enormous historical opportunity for people to come together around one representative. Let me see if I can paint this for you, because the people who are really in the people who have really taken their blinders off understand that the introduction of 1976, it's not going anywhere. It pains me to say it, believe me. I wish that it would go somewhere. But if we can't even get our elected progressives who introduced the legislation to come down to a historic event where we have people traveling from across the country and a documentary filmmaker to come and stand with the 99% and to film us, um, at least send a tweet saying, "Thank you, Whole Washington. We need Rep. Kilmer to come aboard and co-sponsor Medicare for All. Thank you for being outside and doing your due diligence and demanding this." That would be the least of it, wouldn't it? Now, I personally called her office, so just in case there's anyone who thinks, "Oh, maybe you didn't invite her. Maybe she doesn't know that Whole Washington was rallying at Rep. Kilmer's office." This is the whole entire grassroots of Washington State. This is the healthcare justice movement of Washington State. Getting out, going to lobby and push and fight with megaphones to demand Representative Kilmer co-sponsor federal legislation. So increasingly, I am going to have less. I'm going to be less spacious when I see ridiculous people on Twitter calling our efforts piecemeal and continuing to run the same tired narrative that has been propagated by the Medicare for All establishment for years on end now, that's continued to do a slow leak and a slight poisoning of the well against good, strong state level efforts, where if we had had the solidarity, you know, for years, perhaps whole Washington would have been able to gather the signatures that we needed to get to the ballot in 2018. Now, I don't need to relitigate all of this right now. I'm simply giving you all of this for historical context so that you will know that where we're standing right now is that we are in a position where we're going to do it all over again, except this time we need even more signatures to qualify for the ballot. So one would think that if there's an organization that's out actually fighting to get more co-sponsors aboard 1976 for National Improved Medicare for All, that the very least that we could hope for in return would be a thank you. Thank you, whole Washington, Red Berets, Green Party of Washington State, People's Party for Washington State, and all coalition partners, our Revolution Washington Berniecrat Coalition. All of us came together on the photos that you'll see of all of us on the steps next to Representative Kilmer's office. We all chose to put our masks on, make our signage, and head down there on a Friday afternoon even though every single activist that was out there understands that 1976 isn't going to go anywhere. There's no Senate bill, and we have a veto president. So, what would be really, really nice right now is if everybody who is choosing to just think that we can continue to call our representatives at least wake up and realize that there's people organizing who have been calling our reps for years on end. I hate to call that a failed strategy. We keep doing it over and over and over again. And whole Washington and all of our volunteers are likely to continue all throughout the ballot initiative process because that's what we are. That's what we do. We're solidarity organizers. And so even as we're out gathering signatures, you know what I'm going to be? I'm going to have as soon as we have our petition number, I'm going to be on the phone with Representative Kilmer saying, we did that rally outside of your office asking you to please co-sponsor HR 1976 for National Improved Medicare for All. We need you to sign on to that. And also, you represent Washingtonians. 500,000 Washingtonians are uninsured, and double that are underinsured. We need your signature for Whole Washington Initiative. We don't know yet. So when I make a call to action to his office, which anyone watching this could just say, Laura, that's a complete waste of your time. By and large, it is. I knew when we rallied outside, before we made all of those signs, before I went down to the store and bought cans of paint, and before Holly and Lisa and everybody were spray painting those signs, all these efforts that went into this rally to creating this incredible solidarity rally to push for HR 1976 for Medicare for All, I knew that Representative Kilmer wasn't going to suddenly feel the weight of the organizers and say, "Oh, you're right. I think I will co-sponsor Representative Jayapal's legislation." I'm chair of the New Democrats. They don't want me to do it. Their very purpose is to block this sort of thing. We have President Biden who is against it. I have his marching orders. I have all the insurance money and pharma money that I take from my corporate donors, but maybe I'll ignore what it is that they want me to do, and maybe I'll go ahead and co-sponsor and sign on to 1976 because all these people out here, they think I should do it. They're saying healthcare is a human right, and that maybe, me saying healthcare is a human right is actually not enough, so I should co-sponsor. Get real. Get real, okay? But this is the kind of hoops that one-payer states strategists jump through in order to show the solidarity. And because we know we need it nationally, it actually doesn't matter that I know that he wasn't going to come aboard and co-sponsor, that it wasn't going to make the difference for him. He has a lot of money in his pocket, and he would need thousands of people down there at that event to shake and wake and make that kind of movement. Nevertheless, that rally and everybody who spoke on it, including Scott DeNoyer and some other incredible grassroots activists, that is documented forever now by Kenny Ballentine. And so that's why we went out. We went out to make history and to demonstrate to people that we live in a failed state. To those of you who still do not understand what a failed state is, it's when you can go and have a major rally, and even the progressive people whose legislation that you are lobbying and fighting for refuse to acknowledge you. That doesn't make any sense to me because it's now my job to begin to make it uncomfortable for Representative Jayapal. Because we do not do this is way too much effort for us to be putting in order that a supposed healthcare justice champion ignore an entire state's worth of efforts. I don't care that she's a federal legislator. She's a human being, first and foremost. People are dying at the rate of a couple hundred people a day in this country. It's time for some damn solidarity, and it's time to educate people who seem to be repeating establishment, whether we want to talk about it being the democratic establishment or just old, tired narratives. Old, tired narratives that we need to do this nationally and state things harm the movement or they're not the right thing. There is no federal pathway. Wake up, realize it, and the federal pathway that we have is through the states. It is actually a pathway. It is actually a pathway. It is the pathway that Canada took. It is the pathway that is happening with marijuana legalization and ranked choice voting and Fight for 15. The ballot initiative process is just about damn well all that we have left because we are bought. What a failed state means is that your representatives at every single level are representing the donor class and not the 99%. When you have a state like Washington that is overwhelmingly for Medicare for all, and we only have 2 representatives in all of Washington state. I don't know if people know that or not. We have to kind of keep repeating these pieces of the story. In Washington state, it's only Representative Jayapal and then another completely corporately owned Democrat who only co-sponsored. And I'm not actually sure if Adam Smith, he probably hopped aboard again this time. I need to look. But he only came aboard to co-sponsor because he had a strong progressive challenger in 2018, Sarah Smith. He wasn't a co-sponsor before. He had a challenger that made him very nervous, so he came aboard. Okay, so back to Lisa's tweet. We need volunteers from all over the country. You can sign up on wholewashington.org. You can attend a volunteer meeting. They are every single Monday night at 7 o'clock Pacific. You can sign up for the different teams, outreach. People can write articles. People can be on the social media. There are all kinds of ways that people can help from all over the United States. We do have a pathway. It's through the states. And it's particularly through the states that have the ballot initiative process. Because as Whole Washington has demonstrated over and over and over again, we've tried to go the legislative route just to prove. And hell, because what's the alternative to say there's no hope, there's no chance in this? Those of us with the blinders off understood that they would block us at every turn, that we have a completely corrupted Congress at the state level as well as the federal level. But I think this is really important. What of the many things that wholewashington.org can offer to the movement is an absolute crystal clear example of what's actually going to be required to pass this nationally. If we actually wanted to, have a couple of states open the floodgates and start knocking over the dominoes just to kind of raise up that groundswell of people demanding it, that's what it's going to take. It's going to have to, we need a victory. We need a win. We need, just like Tommy Douglas in Saskatchewan province in Canada did over 50 years ago, we need a victory. We need people to see that the pathway is possible. And we have about 28 states that can run ballot initiatives. To the states who can't run ballot initiatives, you still need legislation. Write the legislation, put the legislation forward, start naming names and calling out people like Senator Annette Cleveland and the entire Senate Healthcare Committee here in Washington State, that collectively 11 members have taken over $1 million from the insurance lobby. It's time to name those names, and thanks to Leah and Steve Perkle, who were interviewed in the documentary, they are constituents of Senator Annette Cleveland. They came in and told their healthcare story. And now she also is on the documentary. It is time to name names in both parties. Both parties are colluding to stop the 99% from getting the health care that we need. It is time to just rip off the Band-Aid, stop being nice to corporate Democrats, and even for that matter, progressive Democrats who are not fighting with us. We're tired of it. I personally am very tired of it. I have done a lot of efforts towards the fight for national improved Medicare for all, and I continue that fight. But it is seriously time for the people that have seats of power and have an enormous platform to help us open the floodgates. But we're not relying on them because that's like sitting around and waiting for Representative Kilmer to co-sponsor 1976 for Medicare for all. Maybe if I call him 50 more times, he'll do that. Maybe if we would have had 200 more people at the rally outside of his empty office, he would do that. I don't know. I don't actually know. I don't know who runs the numbers. I don't know what would have needed to happen. I felt absolutely positive that the point of being outside of his office wasn't to get him to co-sponsor. Like, that would have been great, but I knew that wasn't going to happen, barring some kind of like 5,000 people showing up to the rally and flooding the streets, right? Still, to the 60 or 75 people that showed up, maybe it was more, maybe it was 100. To those people who took their Friday afternoon off and put their masks on and came out and brought their signage and brought their voices, and in some cases flew across the United States for healthcare justice, it would seem to me that that would be deserving of gratitude, a thank you, a public thank you. So I am expressing, but nothing shocks me anymore. But on Twitter, if people are going to continue to kind of, criticize Jimmy Dore or attack people who are now publicly calling out the progressive bloc, and I'm one of them now. And I'm one of them now, and I will continue to be one of them, because I'm tired of knitting red berets and doing all of these actions and receiving zero solidarity from the top. Medicare for All National is a top-down approach. It's not a bottom-up approach. WholeWashington.org and anything else in your state level efforts that you want to get going in terms of ballot initiatives or introducing state legislation, CalCare, New York Health Act, those are of and by and for the people. Nobody here is arguing that we need national improved Medicare for all. I'm simply saying that I've been organizing for this for 4 years. I've been pouring enormous amounts of love and solidarity towards, movement leaders and the National Improved Medicare for All strategy, Bernie. And the solidarity back to the grassroots is not so far forthcoming. Am I disappointed in that? Yes. I'll be really honest. Yes, I am. Am I going to let that stop me from moving forward and being out? I already have my places. I already have a place right on 6th Avenue and Sprague that I'm going to be gathering signatures not every single morning, but I'm just going to mark out at least 2 of my mornings a week. And then I'll probably be down at Walmart on another shift. That's what we have to do mathematically. So mathematically, I'm going to figure out how long of a shift, how many signatures am I going to get in half an hour or 1 hour of doing that? And how many signatures am I going to pledge to gather for WholeWashington.org as soon as they launch, as soon as we get our petitions and we get our initiative number, and that will all happen within about a month or less. And I am going to pledge, I pledged 5,000, when we were when we were doing this last year, when we thought maybe we would be able to run an initiative. But then COVID happened and everything. So they're going to run a new email to all of the volunteers to say, how many signatures can you pledge to gather? So that's one of the things that I need to do today, is to sit down and say, okay, if we launch on, if we have our initiative and we have our ballots this week, and then this week is the final, like I need to figure out how many weeks that we have that I'm able to gather. I need to calculate in if I'm going to need a week off or if I'm going to be traveling. I am going to be traveling somewhere this year. Very likely to the UK. So I need to figure out exactly how many weeks and how many days within that can I afford. And see, I know. So it may be more than 5,000, or I may need to back it off and say, boy, maybe I was including how many people I thought I could bring into the fold and they'll gather signatures. But I only need, what I need to calculate is exactly how many I'm going to gather. And then, damn right, I'm going to be recruiting volunteers. Every single person that signs that petition with any gusto, I'll be asking them to go to wholewashington.org to volunteer, because we're not just gathering signatures, we're building a movement. So every single person that is a signature gatherer is not just a signature gatherer, you are a movement builder. And what we do here in Washington State and what the people across the United States do to help Washington State, it's I use the phrase open the floodgates for a purpose. That's what it is. It's really a groundswell. It's to open the floodgates. It's to break the dam. We have to break the dam. And then it's go. When people start to believe, when people start to really believe that we can do this, that's when we are going to see an absolute just groundswell of movement. We don't even know what we're capable of yet. As soon as we switch from the mindset of counting on a savior or a single candidate, what people don't understand, and they should have understood because Bernie said it over and over again, to his credit, there's many critiques that I have made and more critiques that I could still make about how Bernie ran the opportunity that he had. But one thing he did say that he was clear about over and over again, if you listen to any of his stump speeches, is no one person, no one candidate can do this alone. Not me, us, right? That literally means not me, us. That means that we need people out gathering signatures. We need people saying, if they're gathering a signature, please join us. Like, if you can sign this petition, maybe you can, maybe do you think you could get 20 friends and family members? Okay, look, that took like 2 seconds. Every single person that is gathering signatures needs to say to everyone who signs the petition, particularly those who are super excited to sign the petition, takes 2 seconds to say, please go to wholewashington.org and order a petition and get 20 of your friends and family to sign. We need that kind of growth. If we have that kind of exponential growth right out of the gates, we can gather these signatures. It is completely possible. But we can't run it, as 50 Lines Only was saying, we can't run it like it's some kind of an electoral campaign, going out and getting into endorsements, okay, whatever. But we can't, if we're being told by a ballot initiative expert who has successfully worked on a lot of ballot initiatives, that she doesn't see a pathway for this, it's because she doesn't see a pathway within the context of what's been done and how it's been done before. In other words, it doesn't mean that we don't listen to her. It means we do listen to her, and we say, not, oh, we're going to be different. We are going to be different if we do it differently. If we understand that we are movement builders, not signature gatherers. You are not a signature gatherer. Every person that signs the petition is potentially another person that can go and get 20. Everyone can get to 20 signatures. One page, one page, one ballot initiative page. And yes, there's definitely going to be some people that sign it that are just like, okay, I'll sign it, but that's it. Okay, that's fine. Let that go. But I am saying that there's going to be an overwhelming number of people who are going to be grabbing that pen and saying, oh my God, yes, we need this. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Boom. That person is a volunteer. That person is a movement builder for whole Washington. I don't even like the word volunteer. Yes, we are volunteering. We're movement building. And it is not only whole Washington's and everyone across the US who chooses to help us. It is not only merely our job to get this to the ballot. It is our job to build hope, real hope, not false hope, not weak hope that's based on hoping that some candidate or representative will somehow, magically get people to co-sponsor, especially when they're not even willing to at their Democratic colleagues to put pressure on them. That's never going to happen. If you have hope in that kind of a strategy, I'm really sorry to burst your bubble. If you do believe in that strategy, then you better be willing to put a hell of a lot more pressure onto the Progressive Caucus, because we ain't getting shit with them not even pressuring. But I would suggest at this point that you consider taking matters into your own hands, the hands of the 99%, with these hands, as Nina Turner says. It's with these hands. These hands, I'm going to gather signatures, and I'm going to be committed to it. I'm going to say to myself, I'm going to do it here, here, and here. One of the days of the week, I'm going to be out with Michelle DVA, choosing a very public place to knit, and maybe we'll live stream. Maybe we'll do it in a busy intersection where we have the whole Washington banner, and it'll say, "Please stop and sign the petition. We're knitting for healthcare justice." Like, I want to do these. I want to do both, and I want to gather signatures, but I'm also here to grow the Red Berets, to grow the crafting revolution. Because if we could get this word out to the crafters, that they can help whole Washington, and the people that are willing to support. I don't want you to see my hair. It's messy. I mean, this is amazing. This is the kind of dedication that we have for whole Washington. One person, one crochet artist. And even those people who don't know how to create something fantastically geometric and amazing like this, but who are making these kinds of things. This is dedication. This is grassroots. This is creativity. This is solidarity. This is love. This is, what do I have to offer to this movement? Did you all see the, let me get it. I'll be right back. This is by Scott Denoyer. Scott came down to Fibers Etc., which was another filming location where we did a crafting circle. There was just a few of us, and Kenny Ballentine came down and filmed that. But Scott does not knit or crochet, obviously. So he had one of Michelle DVA's berets on a mannequin, on a wire mannequin. And he sat there with his pencils and pen and created this. Because he wanted to help us. He wanted to put his art out into the world. Like, he says, I don't knit. I don't know. Knitting is not my method. Anyone can help with this. If berets are what inspire you, If the creativity of berets inspire you and you like the idea that we're connecting state level efforts like Whole Washington with the national fight for Medicare for all, then let me find this. Then please email redberets m4a.lisa@gmail. Lisa's going to be better with emails than I am. Lisa, 50 lines only, is our ops director for Red Berets. She successfully worked and accomplished the census in Pennsylvania. So there is ground game that she is going to be helping Whole Washington build. We need to work this like the census and go where people need health care and go to them, not expect some big events to be delivered, especially in the time of COVID. And I would argue that, maybe events, clearly we need to do things very differently than how other ballot initiatives have been done. If we expect a dramatically different result than what has been achieved so far, or almost achieved, I just don't know. I agree with Lisa. I think if this is done right, we may very well not have to pay signature gatherers. A person historically who has done these things would tell us that with this number of signatures that we have to get, it is an impossible feat to accomplish it without paying some signature gatherers. Wouldn't it be great to prove that wrong? And if we're out in our community and we move enough people into action to take up their 20, to take up one, to commit to 100, we won't have to. We won't have to hire a fundraising director. We won't have to hire signature gatherers. But people need to understand that we are movement building. We are not just out there gathering signatures to get this to the ballot. That's the prime goal. But we have to look at this from a much, much bigger, expansive perspective than just, oh, let me go out and get you to sign. You need to sign to get this to the ballot. You need to sign to get this to the ballot. You need to sign to get this to the ballot. No, we can open the floodgates for the United States. This is how Canada did it. Please sign to get this on the ballot. And then please go to wholewashington.org and sign up to help us in whatever capacity that you can. If it's through donating, if it's through helping to gather signatures, if it's to do events, if it's to do graphics, text banking, there's just limitless ways to help. Thank you. Thanks for joining. And also thank you, Scott DeNoyer, for this beautiful, beautiful piece of art. I feel truly humbled and grateful that you gave it to me. Thank you. Have a good day.